What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Fourth and Wrong. It's been a minute. I hope you all have been well as we've rolled into November here. I'm Tyler. This is Chris. If you can see it, if you can make out his pixelated face, he is there.
It's perfectly clear on my end.
What about how do I look on your end?
You look fantastic as always.
Thank you.
As always. I'm so over this shit. I don't know what to do with whatever. It doesn't matter. But fantastic weekend.
Going out already. What's up, Evan Grimes in the chat? Chris is frozen. All right. Let's see. We'll wait a little bit for the chat to build up as we wait for Chris's internet to fix.
I can hear everything you're saying.
Evan, can you let us know if Chris is going in and out? All right. Tough start. Great week for you, though. Big Bama win.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, huge Bama win. That was pretty awesome. That was awesome.
Felt like a pretty interesting weekend. I mean, I did not expect that performance from Georgia. Did not expect the performance from Bama to that extent. Didn't necessarily think they would lose the game, but I don't think I've ever seen Death Valley emptied out in the middle of the third quarter, basically. I mean,
third quarter, yeah.
Miami loses a tough one. We have a lot to go through. Certainly things are shaking up. Losing to Georgia Tech again. And some of the stuff social media wise that came out after that game was incredible. There was the Miami player. Did you see the guy that stole? Oh yeah. I saw the engineering guy that was pointing and laughing at it right in Miami fans' face. But did you see the guy that was on the field after they stormed the field? He was live recording himself and he went up to a Miami player and he was ah! And the guy took his phone and just threw it as far as he could. And it kept recording the whole time. So you see it spiral 50 times. And then it lands. And so people pick it up and they're like, hey, the phone's recording. Yo, they're all going crazy. It's pretty funny.
That sounds like a bad commercial that I wouldn't even believe. That's good. That's really good.
Yeah. And it was Miami, so it was even better. Oklahoma losing to Missouri. So there's a lot to go through here.
We're not going to get to it because the internet's not going to fucking work. So
that's true.
We'll try our best.
Where do you want to start?
I wish there's a way to just have the off camera, so then maybe that would help. But whatever. It's whatever. So did you watch the Missouri Oklahoma game?
I didn't get eyes on it. But I saw the score, 23 points for Oklahoma. I heard it was a little crazy, but they were favored by 3 in the game and they lost by 7.
Did you see any of the highlights at the end? Tyler, one of the drunkest college football games you will ever see. It was 10-9 going into the third quarter. At halftime, Oklahoma, their leading passer was the punter. He had 43 yards passing.
Jesus.
Drew Pine had 23 yards passing. Jackson Arnold was still terrible. So they scored 34 combined points in the fourth quarter, and they scored 4 touchdowns in the final 3 minutes and 8 seconds, including 2 fumble returns for touchdowns.
That is drunk. Also drunk after the game, Eli Drinkwitz, it was very pompous about it. He was like, yeah, I said we're a playoff team. It's like, dude, no. I mean, I guess technically by the math, you are a playoff team. You're not out of it yet, but Missouri's not good.
No, they're not. They're not. That was such an interesting thing. And he said, this tab using your camera mic. When he was like, yeah, it's a big win from Drew over here. Kept our playoff hopes alive. And it was when he said that, you could tell that was the first time anyone outside of that locker room had even thought about that.
Oklahoma 132nd in the country in yards per play on offense. Not as bad as Florida State at 134, but very
So-
bad.
Are y'all dead last?
We are dead last. We fired our offensive
Dude,
and
what's
defensive
going on?
coordinator today or yesterday.
Okay.
It's been a while since we've
should we,
potted,
like-
but we have not actually accumulated any wins in that time. I don't know what else to say.
What has happened? Like, what has happened this season?
Okay, so I've got a little diatribe that I went through to try to figure. I mean, look, I think they've struggled to recruit at the high school level since Norvell's been there. They've patched holes with really good finds in the portal, but they were kind of the first team to like dive heavily into the portal, invest in their own team to like keep people on the roster, and they were kind of ahead of trend on that before everyone did it. So they were able to get like a Jermaine Johnson or a Jared Verse because that market
Keon
wasn't
Coleman.
really set yet. Yeah, Keon Coleman. But once everybody caught up to that and started doing the same thing, they weren't getting. So this year's transfer class, like Malik Benson, couldn't see the field at Alabama. It wasn't that he was performing well there and wanted to do it somewhere else. He was never. He had no statistics.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what all the transfers across the board. And I look at like a 2010 Auburn or a 2019 LSU or even Florida State last year, or I could even say 2013, given what has happened to Jimbo's career. You don't have to be a fantastic head coach to win ball games in college football. It's all about the players. And it's why I think the guys that were the returning leaders from last year were all part of the shit that happened at the end of the year with the snub and all that. I do think it would affect everybody mentally in terms of the message not really getting home to them. And then the guys that you brought in didn't fill holes that those guys were now leaving. And it's a culture. The message has been lost. So it's going to be a total overhaul. They can't afford to fire Norvell. I think he deserves a second chance because he has shown that he can do it. I think just a confluence of events made a horrible season out of this season. And I think to the player point, that's why I think at some point you're going to see player salaries, especially for the top guys, start to get closer to coaching salaries because you can pay these guys all you want. We re-upped Norvell to $10 million a year and he loses all these NFL guys. And all of a sudden this mediocre talent that's left on the roster, it's a disaster. So I think eventually you're going to see those top players make nearly as much as the coaches do. But yeah, man, it's just I had heard that there was going to be multiple firings after the Duke game, and I think that timeline lines up to like they've played awful the last couple weeks. Yeah, they got blown out by UNC, who's terrible. They were just non-competitive against Notre Dame. They lost 52-3.
What?
Yeah. You can just tell that.
Sorry, buddy.
You can just tell that the players are checked out. The coaches that were told they were not coming back a few weeks ago have not been game planning. I mean, it's a disaster. Like I said, Norvell fired the offensive defensive coordinator and the wide receivers coach yesterday. And he had his press conference today and he was just like, look, we've been terrible. And it starts with me. He's like, and it was sad because a lot of these guys have been on his staff for 5+ years. And he was like, these are my family members. And he's like, but ultimately this is unacceptable. And he's like, we got to start fresh. I have a plan. I'm already executing on the plan. So we'll see what happens. I'd say 90% of the fan base would rather just see him get fired now. I'm probably part of the yeah. It's
How
bad.
do you feel about that?
I'm part of the 10% that thinks I think it's going to be tough to ultimately get back to having success at a Florida State type level that the fan base wants. But I don't think that he's just not going to be able to do it because he pulled us out of a shit show when he got here. And I think he could do it again with a different message with different coaches. So we'll see. We'll see what he changes. I think, I'd love to see him go out and just get someone from the SEC that's used to building a program that's built for the SEC when it comes to
go get like a Muschamp.
Infrastructure, recruiting. Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see what he does. It's tough because, these top guys that you could go out and get, you're going to have to really overpay for them because Norvell is kind of on the hot seat already. And these guys are, you want to got to jump from Georgia where his family is very secure and loves Athens and all that, to take a chance at the Florida State job when the coach may be fired in 2 years if it doesn't work. It's going to be an interesting dynamic to see how he tries to recruit coaches as well as players through this. I don't know, man. It's just, like I said, it's been a disastrous season. It's put a damper on it for me a bit, but I still like watching the other games, so that's good.
Yeah. That's good.
Hey, camera looks clear now.
Does it?
Things are looking up.
I've been so mad about this for hours. Just dreading it. Just was my favorite thing, and now it's like whatever. Yeah. Anyway, where do you want to start? You lead the way, and I'll chime in since the internet is fickle. Georgia Ole Miss?
Yeah, I want to start there. We've been talking about Georgia's offense, and specifically Carson Beck. Yeah, specifically Carson Beck for really, I mean, all season, talking about just the lack of playmakers at receiver and kind of being surprised that a caliber of recruiting program that Georgia is, number one class or two every year, that their receiving core is just there's no guys on that receiving core. Not like you see across college football with the elite teams. Tight ends have underperformed. Not very much of a running back room. I mean, they're good, but they just haven't really had a ton of success on the ground. They throw the ball a ton.
They're really banged up this year too.
Yeah, that's true. And look, Ole Miss is good. Like the Kentucky game, total fluke. I mean, I don't know what happened in that game for Ole Miss, but like, you know, they had a close game against LSU.
Georgia. Maybe Kentucky, like maybe they are sneaky good.
Who knows, dude? The SEC is so kind of hard to figure out right now. Like, Bama goes out, dominates Georgia, then Georgia dominates Texas, and then, you know, Vandy like has all these surprise wins and then just gets dominated by South Carolina. South Carolina's defense is incredible. Like, there's so much going on. It's hard to pick these games. Like, I was on Georgia. I thought Georgia. I mean, they crushed Ole Miss last year, and this is a better Ole Miss team and a worse Georgia team. But I still thought, given how that game went last year and Kirby's propensity to get up for these big games, I thought Georgia would take it. It was just a surprise. I mean, 10 points for Georgia. I don't know.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Internet's jammed.
All right. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. So the thing with the Georgia Ole Miss that was so bizarre to me was that it, like, you know what? Just real quick. Why does it work for 5 minutes at a fucking time? And then all of a sudden it's just lost. Just fucking lost. It's like watching Auburn football.
To me, it kind of feels like Beck is like a very much a streaky guy. Like, and when he starts to lose confidence, it can really start to back up on him. And when he's in a rhythm, he starts to look incredible. But he's just not a steady leader. And I know that it's tough. Like, the Georgia fan base is obviously, you know, this is how it goes, right? Like, it's the Lamborghini, it's the Instagram girlfriend, it's the smiling on the sidelines when they're losing. I mean, this is what happens when your team isn't playing up to expectation. The quarterback takes everything. But I do think that he has a lot to do with some of the lack of success. I mean, the O-line has not been up to par.
Bad.
You know, but I think it really goes back to not having a ton of playmakers on offense.
I think as far as this season goes, I think he's gone. Like, I don't think he can be good, but he has had so many bad games in a row and so many bad performances in a row that now you talk about like the mental makeup of it when you're like, you have to go out there and make a clutch throw. We haven't seen him do that. Like, you know, dude, even the game against Bama when he had the go-ahead touchdown, that guy was running free. Like he has not shown that he can like figure this thing out. And there's not just it's one bad game, you know, forget about it. Don't even watch the tape, burn it, and let's go. I mean, he's thrown
12 picks in 6 games. I think they flash up on the
on
the game. That's crazy.
That's like more than Stetson Bennett had, I think, in his career. And I don't think it's helping the like he's a college kid. He's 21, 22. He's enjoying his life. Like, I don't know what I would have expected out of any fan base. It's not just Georgia, but like it does make it look exponentially worse when you are losing games. It makes it look worse if you're throwing interceptions. 1, 2, if you're throwing interceptions and losing games, it looks really bad optically to everyone, especially the group of fans that are not in the TikTok generation. When you are doing fucking TikToks with one of the Cavender twins. I mean, it's like
what a world. College football is insane these days.
He got like, remember he got that deal. Him and Jackson Dart did the same thing. They did like an NIL deal with like a private jet, and it just feels like very, very clear that I just fucking hate everything. It's very clear that he is. Take over, Tyler. Take over. Hold on.
All right. Don't forget to mute it. Not muted, but that's okay. I'll mute him. Yeah. So, Carson Beck. I mean, look, I was just about to say to Chris, like, can you imagine rewinding 10 years? So you're 2014 college football. Oh, that's a nice time. Florida State was undefeated at this time. And someone was like, yeah, Georgia's quarterback, like everyone's mad because he's doing TikToks with his IG girlfriend and he's driving Lamborghinis to the game after he took a private jet. People would be like, what are you talking about? College football. It's just people on salary. It's changed so much over the last decade, really changed so much over the last 3 years. But yeah, I don't know. I don't feel as though even if Georgia does make it into the playoff and play some of these upper echelon teams. Now, there is the Texas game.
Yeah.
Now, granted, the defense had to go to another level in that game for them because Carson Beck still wasn't great in that game either. So I just think that even if they do make the playoffs, which, we'll preview this Tennessee game, but what are your early thoughts? 8.5 points.
It went up to 10.
It's up to 10 now.
Yeah, so that's kind of surprising.
Because
thoughts on it.
Ole Miss is. I'd say Tennessee. If you look at some metrics like yards per play, yards per game allowed, third down conversion defense is an even better defense than Ole Miss.
Yeah. Oh no. What Tennessee is doing right now is historically good, and no one's talking about it. Like their defense has not allowed 20 points in a single game this season. There's only 3 teams that have done it in the SEC in the last 20 years, and it's 2011 Bama, 2016 Bama, and 2021 Georgia. Like, I'm not saying that they're going to beat Georgia, but this is the team that's built to do it. Not 2022, not 2013 or 2023. Like this is the team's built to do it because defensively they are so good. And they are so like they run the football and like we saw with Kentucky, if you can control the clock and rip off 4 yards a carry and just get first downs, you can beat Georgia. I think the thing that's most surprising about all this is Georgia could still very well win the national championship. They can go on a run or whatever, but like it took less than a year for us to watch all this unfold. And it's like, I don't know if it's because it's Texas and the SEC and Oklahoma, well, not really Oklahoma, or if it's because USC is in the Big Ten with Oregon, but like it took less than a year for now. You're like, dude, I'm fucking excited for like Indiana, Ole Miss. I hope they don't play a road game in Indiana because that's disgusting. But I mean, like, like I hope I'm gonna say this because I'm just in a bad mood right now, and no one's watching. But like, I would almost rather like save Bama from losing a game in the playoff and put somebody else in there that'll win. Like I want them to make the playoff for sure. But I mean, like, dude, like think about how exciting this is going to be with like Ole Miss is a team that is built to win a national championship. That doesn't mean that they are going to. It doesn't mean that Georgia, like, I still very much believe in Georgia, but Georgia's in a very weird spot now because it's like, I think we all just assumed they were going to beat Bama more than they were even going to win this one. And then they go to Texas and dominate. And now you're looking at 10-2. Dude, their odds to get into the playoff, like the win over Texas is great, but like Joel Klaus talked about this today. Some team in the SEC is going to get to 10-2 and get left out, like that we all feel like should not be left out. And I'm not talking about Texas A&M or I'm talking about like Bama, Ole Miss, or Georgia. One of those three teams is getting left out.
So let's say Tennessee loses to Georgia this weekend, so they'll have 2 losses at that point.
Yeah.
But they would have had the head-to-head over Bama. Lost to Arkansas is pretty bad. I don't know. This is a big weekend. There's still a lot to be settled here.
It's also the funniest weekend in terms of SEC football and SEC scheduling because you look at like the games and it's like you have one of everything. It's like you've got Florida LSU, or you got Texas Arkansas, you got like different things like that. And then you have, what do you call it? You have like ranked matchups with Mizzou and South Carolina, and then you have a top 10 matchup with Georgia and Tennessee. And then you've got the Mercers and the FCS teams coming in and play. Like it's just, there's a lot of good games. And doesn't Indiana play Ohio State this weekend?
No. I think that's next weekend.
That's gonna be fun.
Wait, it could be this. No. Oh, Ohio State's got like, who they just play? Purdue.
Yeah. Purdue's awful.
Purdue's so bad, dude. No, I think they've got another like easy game. Let me look it up real fast. Yeah. Oh yeah. They've got the tough road barn burner against Northwestern. Ohio State does this weekend. Then they have Indiana at home, and then Michigan.
Michigan's
so that's another
5-5.
That's another thing. Is Indiana. They didn't just waltz right by Michigan. I think you're starting to see with Indiana, like, obviously incredible job by Cignetti.
Yeah.
Very good team. I mean, until last week, I think they've covered every game, won and covered every game. Mm-hmm. But like when you go up against a team that's got multiple NFL guys on defense, I wonder. Yeah. You saw Indiana get slowed down a bunch, and you got to remember a lot of these guys that he has on his roster right now are transfers from James Madison, where he was before, transfers from other schools, and so they're not quite at the level of the guys on Ohio State's roster. Road game, I think Indiana's going to get tripped up, but here's the thing: if they're undefeated and they just have one loss to Ohio State, they're going to get in the playoff.
Yeah, no, they have the second best odds out of anybody. Like you look at ESPN's like their odds predictor or whatever. It's Oregon, Indiana, Ohio State. It's kind of crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah. Miami losing to Georgia Tech. Like I think they'll still be in unless they lose to SMU, who's like number 13 now, or Clemson. 2-loss Miami. Their defense is just not good.
No, it's not.
Like, I hate that it's Miami, but Cam Ward's unbelievable. Like, he does turn over the ball some, but like I feel like when they need to have a score, he can get them down the field, score a touchdown in 5 plays.
Yeah.
So their offense is really good.
They have been one of the more fun teams to watch, and I know you're gonna hate this. I do think college football is better when they're good because they're just like. But I also want them to have to play teams. Like I tell you what. It's not that they're better when they're good. And I finally figured this out. Miami is just atheist Notre Dame. That's it. Yeah. Like they're the same program. Like they they're unlikable. Their fans are unlikable. Like they have a bunch of stuff from the 80s they still want to talk to you about. Like, I don't care about that 2001 team. I don't give a shit. Like, please go win something now. I always forget that they were ranked second in the country like until like the second to last week of the season in 2017.
Yeah. Mark Richt was the coach.
Yeah. But
I kind of even forget that he was the coach at one point.
yeah, I think I mean, like he was there, and then he has like I'm trying to think of when he was gone, but like because they've had 2 coaches since then, right?
They've had Manny Diaz and Cristobal, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting because I think that they can be like they will be must see TV in the playoff against I wouldn't say or I mean like them in a past Oregon team would be pretty fun, but like them in Indiana would probably be good, just offensively. But I think you're right about Indiana too. It's a really good point of having to face NFL players on defense, especially because, dude, like here's the thing. It's a good story. It's really cool. Like that Cignetti's been able to do this, and they are 11-0 or 10-0 or whatever it is, and I love that. Here's where I'm going to push back on it, and I'll admit to you why I'm pushing back on it. I'm going to push back a little bit because Cignetti seemed like a pretty big dickhead on game day to Saban. He rolled his eyes at him, all that kind of shit. Like, but here's the thing: they've played nobody. Like they've played nobody. The strength of schedule that they've gone through this gauntlet is like, I mean, it's bad. Like it was like 103rd last week.
Yeah, let me pull it up. Yeah, because I was looking at that too. So they started the season with FIU and Western Illinois. Then they went on the road to UCLA, who UCLA has actually gotten better recently, but they were not good at the very beginning of the year.
No.
Then they went on a run and played Charlotte, Maryland, and Northwestern, and they had the bye. Okay. They had that big win against Nebraska. I think Nebraska's kind of come down to earth though. The win against Washington, on the road against Michigan State, and then Michigan 20-15 at home.
Right.
So going through the bye this week, which I do like that they get the bye before Ohio State.
I just don't
bye too with Northwestern. So
I don't get how this happens every year in the Big Ten. Like I just don't get it. Like Michigan and Penn State strength of schedule last year, or like maybe it wasn't Penn State, but Michigan strength of schedule last year was like 111th or something going into the like before the Penn State game. Anyway,
yeah.
All right, let's talk about Bama and let's wrap it up.
Okay. Tell me how you feeling about the squad right now? Defense is definitely improving a lot.
Defense looks good. The defense looks good. I think that they're starting to play with some fucking pride, which is good. I'm excited about that. Jalen looks awesome. And
they completely changed it up in this game. They ran the ball like 80% of the time.
Yeah.
That's their identity. I mean, because I think Milroe, like he is a good passer, but like his real skill level is his legs. And that's not to be a knock. It's just he's elite.
Yeah. And this was a better display, I think, than anything of like, dude, like he had a 72-yard run where he got to before he had left the last guy in the secondary. It was like there's no one catching him. Like there's not an angle you could take like that you're going to catch him. I loved it. I stayed off social media because of my job. But I was telling someone about this afterwards, and I think the funniest part about all this is this, like, and I'm going to be the petty fan about this part. Like the two loudest fan bases that were so vocal in telling you with certainty, Alabama fans, and like what was going to happen now that Saban's gone. It was Georgia and LSU. And I'm not counting Auburn because they don't count. But like Georgia and LSU would just those fans went on and on and on about, this is like my boss. Like this is your new.
I wasn't gonna mention it unless you did, but he was going a little crazy with that earlier in the year.
Oh, Bama's burning?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's just trolling the fans, and it's funny at this point.
Yeah, it definitely seemed to be a bit of engagement farming.
Yeah, well, they just can't see. They can't stop it. Like they can't help themselves but to overreact to it. So that's like it's just funny on both sides. But like, and I'm not talking about Matt. I'm just talking about like their fans in general and like people around Baton Rouge. Like, This is going to come off in like a dickheadish way, but here's the thing, man. Those two fan bases, I think, talked the most shit because those two fan bases were the ones that were like, man, if Saban wasn't at Bama, Kirby would have this many national championships. Like if Saban wasn't at Bama, LSU would have won at least in 2011 and maybe a couple more. Who knows? But like those two they've been so frustrated, I'm sure, under like the heel of Alabama for the last 15 to 17 years. And I think they're combined like 5-18 against them or something crazy. So I get it. But if there's anyone that should also understand, like, hey, maybe we just like let it play out before we start running our mouths nonstop, it's those two fan bases. We're 5 years removed from Ed Orgeron taking a victory lap around Bryant-Denny Stadium saying, right here on their logo, and blah, 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 we're going to beat the ass on the field. We're going to beat the ass in recruiting. Like, brother, you've been unemployed for 3.5 years. Like, it's that part it's so bizarre to me because it's not the confidence they have that they're going to win, because you should always have confidence in your team, whatever. It's the arrogance and fact that this say it with your chest-ness that they do it with, especially with LSU, because you got to come to Baton Rouge. You got to come to Death Valley. We got a fucking live tiger that we stole from Florida for some. By the way, that whole
it wasn't even like a fake tiger, it was a real tiger, but it wasn't like the real mascot.
Named Omar from Big Cat Rescue in Florida.
The Big Cat Rescue.
Yeah.
What's the woman that owns it?
Carol Baskins.
Yeah, Carol Baskins.
So, but what's funny about this is that I was thinking about this too. Is like, I like LSU. I like their fans. I love Tiger Stadium. I love Baton. I love Death Valley. Like all that stuff. The traditions are awesome. That place was electric against Ole Miss. It was really, really cool. But the thing is, man, if you want to talk about streaks or historical, like you have to get over a hump, Bama's lost there 6 times in 68 years now. And like, dude, LSU is LSU is 4-14 in the last 18 games against Bama. Those 4 wins are by a combined 12 points. I mean, like, this has not been close. Like, this has not been close. And they had everything to gain. They had everything on the line. They had like a week off to prepare. They had just lost a game because of a running quarterback, and they came out, and that was the performance they gave. And I thought that was really, really bad optically for Brian Kelly. And then the other part of it is the fact that, like, dude, that game itself is supposed to be like a knockdown drag out, and the lack of physicality from LSU, it was really surprising, man. Even on the offensive line, it was just really surprising.
That feels like it's been a problem for them on the defensive side of the ball for the last few years.
Yeah,
it's not that LSU defense you're used to.
I just remember what I was trying to say was that governor of Louisiana. I don't know if you saw the video. I should have sent it to you, where he's like trying to, like, hey, we need a live tiger on the field, right, guys? And people are like, huh? He's like, right? Am I right? and so they go get the tiger. Yeah, they go get the tiger, and you're like, what's weird is that whole thing was not like, fuck yeah, we're getting a live tiger. It was much more like, oh God, Chris texted the group chat again at 2:30 in the morning saying we should all get matching tattoos and go on a golf trip. Like, because he's going through something. Like, because like everyone's like, oh, okay. Like, no one was excited about it. They go get this. And now that poor tiger is going to be hated on forever.
Yeah. Come on, Omar. We stand with Omar.
We do. Just do corgi races at halftime like a normal fucking fan base.
Lastly, before we sign off, or we got an update here at the end, but dude, if I had told you at the beginning of the year that BYU and Colorado would be battling it out for a Big 12 championship.
Yeah.
Dude, but
the BYU game is awesome.
Gotta give it to Colorado. Gotta give it to Colorado. All the people, all the haters out there of Norvell saying Got to go get Dion now. Get rid of him. I do want to see now. It sounds like Juju Lewis is going to go to Colorado now, so that should be interesting. But I do want to see with his son, who he's only been a coach at the college level with his son at quarterback, and this like generational talent. When these two guys move on, and I know it's I'm not taking away from what he's done this year because he's done a lot better than I thought. I want to see what he does when those guys leave, not only like staying within college football, but like what does Colorado become if he stays there after Shedeur leaves?
Yeah. Like somebody said it today. Like, listen, we got all over Colorado this offseason. And I think if like, I'm not apologizing for that because I think that what I assess from situations that were then happening, they're not now. Like it feels like the whole program's grown up, and they kind of finally got it. And in Shedeur Sanders especially, it feels like he finally kind of got it. But somebody mentioned today, they're like, you know what, the Cowboys should just fucking tank for Shedeur Sanders. And then go hire Dion. And I'm like, that is a stupid idea. But yeah, let's do it, man. Fuck it. Like let's like the Cowboys are never gonna be good. We're gonna talk about them incessantly. So like might as well.
It'd be you think ESPN talks enough about the Cowboys and also Colorado because of Deion Sanders? Imagine combining those powers. Okay, big week ahead. Quickly, I know we've heard a lot of feedback from you guys on social media. We've been missing some pods lately. A lot of it's been my fault. I don't know what quite happened there, but a lot of it's been my fault. Just adjusting to a new life, single dad, 2 kids, just getting used to life with that, and it's caused me to miss some pods lately. With that being said, we're thinking about switching it up. We want to kind of crowdsource because we've always had a pretty loyal listenership. We're thinking about potentially adding like I don't know. And Chris and I still have to discuss it, but potentially adding a third member of a pod like every episode, like a recurring person. Or potentially if any of you guys that listen have experience with running podcasts or doing producing on like StreamYard or anything like that, helping us do live shows so we can kind of focus on the show and not worry about setting up the lives and doing all that. So we're kind of crowdsourcing ideas on what could make the show better. So we want to hear from you guys, social media, in the comments, wherever you want. And a lot of you have Chris's phone number. You can just text him. You DM me. You can DM me on Twitter at Tyler Huck. But yeah, we'd love to hear some ideas from you guys on what would make the show better. Would you like a third person? I don't know. What are your thoughts?
It's
Chris?
not going away necessarily.
Yeah.
But
it's just we're trying to get unique because life is getting in the way some for me, and I'm trying to not back out of the pod for good. So
yeah, I've been down all day just at the thought of it, just because we've been doing this for like 7 years now, and it's been awesome. I just like it, but it's been admittedly frustrating, man, because it's like I have 8 jobs. Obviously, you have like one real job that makes up way more than my 8, and then you have, like you said, like you're a single dad with 2 kids and just moved to a new house and all that kind of stuff. And then it's like in the few times where it feels like we are aligned and like we can fucking like have the schedules work out and everything's been good. It's like every fucking time the internet goes out or something stupid happens. It's like it's been a frustrating season because it's like this is my favorite thing to do is this show and come on here and just like talk to the audience, talk shit with each other and talk about the games and all that kind of stuff. And it just feels like every time we have tried to like get any sort of momentum going, it just either life gets in the way or something like that. So I'm hoping we just figure out a solution. And if it means we need to take some time off and whatever, it's like, I think the only thing I don't want to do is, well, actually, maybe we should rebrand again, because that is like anyway, but yeah, man, we'll obviously talk about it off air and all that kind of stuff, but I appreciate you saying something, and hopefully if you guys have suggestions, hit us up.
Yes, please do. All right, guys. Thanks for listening in, and we will talk to you guys when we talk to you.